Injured owl trusts a little girl. What happens next will leave you speechless. How will this story unfold? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. It was a serene summer morning in the quaint town of Meadowbrook. The golden rays of the sun streamed through the leafy canopy of the woods, casting dancing patterns on the forest floor. Lily, a curious 6-year-old girl with a love for adventure, had her usual routine of wandering the woods behind her family's cottage. Dressed in her green polka-dotted dress and clutching her worn sketchbook, Lily often found joy in sketching the animals she encountered on her journeys. Today, however, was different. As she skipped along the narrow trail humming a soft tune, something unusual caught her attention. A faint rustling sound came from the bushes to her left. At first, Lily thought it was a squirrel or a rabbit, but the sound was heavier, slower. Her small frame froze, her wide brown eyes scanning the undergrowth. "Hello," she called softly, her voice barely louder than the chirping of the birds above. She crouched down, peering into the dense bushes. What she saw made her heart lurch. There, nestled among the leaves, was an owl, its feathers a mixture of soft browns and whites, but its wing was twisted at an odd angle. Its large amber eyes stared at her, both frightened and defiant. "Oh no," Lily whispered, inching closer. The owl flinched, trying to back away, but it couldn't move much without dragging its injured wing. Lily could feel her heart pounding as she realized the poor creature was in pain. She reached out her hand slowly, remembering how her father had taught her to approach animals gently. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice soothing. "I won't hurt you." The owl blinked at her, its breathing shallow and labored. Lily noticed that it was trembling, likely from fear or exhaustion. She glanced around, searching for something she could use to help. Her gaze fell on her sweater, tied around her waist. Without hesitation, she slipped it off and laid it flat on the ground. "I'll help you," she promised, as though the owl could understand her. Carefully, she reached under its body, trying to avoid its injured wing. The owl let out a weak hoot, its sharp beak snapping in defense, but Lily didn't pull back. Instead, she murmured words of reassurance, her small hands steady as she wrapped the sweater around the bird, forming a soft cradle. The walk back to the cottage was slow and deliberate. Lily cradled the owl close to her chest, feeling its rapid heartbeat against her own. She didn't stop to admire the flowers or the butterflies like she usually did. Her mind was focused on one thing: saving this creature. When she reached the edge of the woods, her mother was in the garden, watering the roses. The sight of Lily carrying a bundled-up owl startled her. "Lily, what are you doing with that?" "Mom, it's hurt," Lily interrupted, her voice urgent. "We have to help it." Her mother frowned, glancing at the bird's drooping wing. She wasn't particularly fond of wildlife, especially not the kind that could potentially carry diseases. "Lily, honey, we can't just bring wild animals into the house. Please, Mom." Lily's eyes brimmed with tears, her determination unwavering. "It needs us. It's all alone." Her mother sighed, knowing how stubborn her daughter could be. "All right, let's see what we can do. But first, we're calling Mr. Hargrove." Mr. Hargrove was the town's retired veterinarian. A gruff but kind man in his 60s, he often helped residents with injured animals. Within an hour, he was standing in their kitchen, examining the owl on the dining table. The bird seemed calmer now, its head swiveling to watch every movement. "You've got a brave little girl here," Mr. Hargrove remarked, giving Lily a kind smile. Not many people would approach an injured bird like this. Lily beamed with pride, standing on her tiptoes to watch as Mr. Hargrove cleaned the owl's wounds and carefully splinted its wing. "Will it be okay?" she asked, her voice small. "It'll take time," he replied. "The wing is broken, but with rest and care, it should heal." Lily's mother sighed but didn't argue when Mr. Hargrove suggested they keep the owl in a quiet corner of the house. He left them with instructions on feeding and care, as well as a gentle warning not to get too attached. But getting attached was inevitable. Lily named the owl Athena, after the wise and powerful goddess her father had once told her about. Every day after school, Lily would sit by Athena's makeshift enclosure, reading books aloud or sketching pictures of her. At first, Athena was wary, her sharp eyes following Lily's every move. But as the days turned into weeks, the owl began to trust the little girl. It would hoot softly when Lily entered the room and even allow her to stroke its feathers. One evening, as Lily sat sketching, her father came to check on her. He watched as Lily gently touched Athena's head, the owl blinking slowly in response. "You've got quite the bond," he said, sitting beside her. "I think she knows I won't hurt her," Lily replied, her voice filled with wonder. "Do you think she'll ever fly again?" Her father smiled. "With the way you're taking care of her, I'm sure she will." Athena's progress was slow but steady. Her wing grew stronger, and soon she was able to stretch it fully. The day she flapped it experimentally, sending a gust of air across the room. Lily cheered so loudly that Athena ruffled her feathers in surprise. But as much as Lily loved having Athena close, she knew the owl belonged in the wild. It was a bittersweet realization that her parents gently prepared her for. "When she's ready, we'll take her back to the woods," her mother said one evening. "It's where she's meant to be." Lily nodded, though her heart ached at the thought. She spent the next few weeks savoring every moment with Athena, knowing their time together was limited. She sketched Athena in her notebook, capturing every detail of her expressive eyes and intricate feathers. "I'll always remember you," she whispered one night, as Athena perched on the edge of her bed. The day of Athena's release finally arrived. Mr. Hargrove met them at the edge of the woods, where a clearing bathed in sunlight awaited. Lily carried Athena in her arms, her steps slow and reluctant. When they reached the center of the clearing, she knelt down, opening her arms to let Athena go. Athena remained perched on Lily's arm, her sharp talons lightly gripping the fabric of Lily's sweater. She tilted her head, her amber eyes scanning the forest around them. It was as if she understood the significance of this moment, as if she knew her time with Lily was coming to an end. Lily's heart ached as she gently stroked Athena's feathers one last time. "It's okay, Athena," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "You're free now." She extended her arm, lifting Athena towards the open sky. For a moment, the owl hesitated, her wings twitching but not fully spreading. It was as if she couldn't bring herself to leave. Lily glanced at her parents and Mr. Hargrove, all of whom watched silently, their expressions a mixture of pride and sadness. "Go on," Lily encouraged, her voice soft yet firm. "You can do it." Finally, Athena spread her wings, their impressive span casting a shadow over Lily. With a powerful thrust, she lifted off from Lily's arm, her wings cutting through the air with grace and strength. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she watched Athena ascend, her figure growing smaller against the backdrop of the vibrant blue sky. But instead of flying straight into the depths of the forest, Athena circled back. She soared above the clearing, letting out a series of hoots that echoed through the trees. Lily's heart swelled with emotion as she realized Athena was saying goodbye in her own way. "She's thanking you," Mr. Hargrove said gently, placing a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. Athena circled one last time before disappearing into the canopy of trees. Lily stood there for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the spot where the owl had vanished. The forest seemed quieter now, as if it too was mourning Athena's departure. The walk back to the cottage was solemn. Lily clutched her sketchbook tightly, her thoughts consumed by memories of Athena. She didn't say much, but her parents understood. They knew how much Athena had meant to her. That night, as Lily lay in bed, she flipped through the pages of her sketchbook. Each drawing of Athena brought a smile to her face, though her eyes remained misty. She felt a bittersweet mix of sadness and joy. Athena was gone, but she was free, and that was what truly mattered. Days turned into weeks, and life in Meadowbrook returned to its usual rhythm. But Lily never forgot Athena. She often found herself glancing towards the woods, wondering if Athena was thriving in her natural habitat. Sometimes, she even thought she heard faint hoots in the distance, though she could never be sure. One crisp autumn morning, As Lily wandered through the woods with her sketchbook, something extraordinary happened. She was sitting beneath her favorite oak tree, sketching a squirrel that had paused on a nearby branch, when a familiar sound reached her ears, a soft, rhythmic hoot. Her heart skipped a beat. She looked up, her eyes scanning the trees. First, she saw nothing, but then, perched on a high branch, was a figure she would recognize anywhere. It was Athena. "Athena!" Lily called out, her voice filled with disbelief and joy. The owl tilted her head, her amber eyes locking onto Lily. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, as if no time had passed. Then, to Lily's amazement, Athena swooped down, landing gracefully on the ground a few feet away. Lily's breath caught in her throat as she approached slowly, not wanting to startle the owl. "You came back," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Athena hooted softly, a sound that seemed to carry warmth and familiarity. Lily knelt down, extending her hand. To her astonishment, Athena hopped closer, her sharp talons clicking against the fallen leaves. She allowed Lily to stroke her feathers, just like old times. For the next hour, Lily and Athena shared a quiet reunion. The owl perched on a low branch while Lily sketched her, capturing every detail with even more precision than before. It was as if Athena had never left. But deep down, Lily knew this was only a visit. Athena belonged to the wild now, and this was her way of showing Lily that she was okay. When the time came to say goodbye again, Lily felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt before. She watched as Athena spread her wings and took flight, disappearing into the trees once more. This time, Lily didn't cry. Instead, she smiled, knowing that their bond was unbreakable, no matter the distance. From that day on, Lily often visited the woods, always carrying her sketchbook. And though Athena's visits were rare, they were always magical. Each encounter reminded Lily of the power of kindness, trust, and the unique connection between humans and animals. As the days grew shorter and the chill of autumn deepened, Lily found herself more attuned to the rhythm of the forest. Athena's unexpected visits had left her feeling more connected to nature than ever before. Each time the owl appeared, it felt like a quiet miracle, a reminder of the bond they had forged during that extraordinary summer. One evening, as twilight descended over Meadowbrook, Lily ventured into the woods with her parents. They had planned a small outing to gather firewood, and Lily, as always, carried her sketchbook. The forest was alive with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant bird calls. Lily's heart leapt at the thought of seeing Athena again, though she didn't want to get her hopes up too high. "Do you think she'll come tonight?" Lily asked her father as they walked along the familiar path. "Maybe," her father replied with a warm smile. "Athena seems to have a way of knowing when you're here." Lily nodded, clutching her sketchbook tightly. She couldn't explain it, but she felt as though Athena could sense her presence, as if their bond went beyond words or logic. It was something deeper, something unspoken yet undeniably real. As they reached a clearing, Lily paused, her eyes scanning the treetops. The last rays of sunlight filtered through the branches, casting golden hues over the forest floor. For a moment, everything was still. Then, a familiar sound broke the silence, a soft, rhythmic hoot. "She's here," Lily exclaimed, her voice a mix of excitement and relief. Her parents followed her gaze as Athena emerged from the shadows, her wings outstretched as she glided gracefully towards them. Lily held her breath as the owl landed on a low branch nearby, her amber eyes glowing with a quiet intensity. "Hello, Athena," Lily said softly, stepping closer. Athena tilted her head, her gaze fixed on Lily. There was a calmness in her demeanor, a sense of trust that had been cultivated over months of care and understanding. Lily extended her hand, and to her delight, Athena hopped onto her arm, her talons gripping gently. "She never ceases to amaze me," Lily's mother murmured, her voice filled with wonder. Lily's father nodded. "It's like she's part of the family now." For the next hour, they stayed in the clearing, enjoying Athena's presence as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Lily sketched by the light of a small lantern, capturing Athena's regal posture and the way her feathers shimmered in the moonlight. Her parents watched quietly, their expressions a mixture of pride and awe. As the evening wore on, Athena finally spread her wings, signaling that it was time for her to return to the wild. Lily stood and held her arm aloft, watching as the owl took flight. This time, there were no tears, only a deep sense of gratitude. "Goodbye, Athena," Lily whispered as the owl disappeared into the night. The walk back to the cottage was filled with quiet reflection. Lily felt a sense of fulfillment she hadn't experienced before. Athena's visits had taught her so much, not just about wildlife, but about the importance of kindness, patience, and connection. Over the following weeks, Lily continued her visits to the woods, though Athena's appearances became less frequent as winter approached. The forest took on a new beauty, its bare branches dusted with snow and its streams frozen into intricate patterns. Lily found inspiration in the stillness, capturing the quiet magic of the season in her sketches. One particularly cold morning, Lily decided to venture deeper into the woods than usual. She wrapped herself in layers and carried a small pouch of seeds, hoping to attract birds to her sketching spot. As she walked, she noticed tracks in the snow, small, delicate imprints that seemed to belong to a bird of prey. Her heart quickened. Could it be Athena? Lily followed the tracks until she reached a secluded clearing. The trees here were older, their branches heavy with snow. She paused, listening intently. The forest was silent, save for the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. Then she saw her. Athena was perched on a low branch, her feathers puffed against the cold. She seemed different somehow, calmer, more at ease. Lily approached slowly, her breath visible in the crisp air. "Hello, Athena," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The owl hooted in response, a sound that seemed to carry warmth despite the icy surroundings. Lily extended her arm, and to her amazement, Athena flew down to meet her. The moment felt sacred, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Lily stayed with Athena for hours, sketching and talking to her as the sun climbed higher in the sky. She felt a profound sense of peace, as if the world had narrowed to just the two of them. When it was finally time to leave, Athena didn't follow her as she usually did. Instead, she remained perched on the branch, watching as Lily disappeared into the trees. That night, Lily couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. She felt as though Athena had been trying to tell her something, though she couldn't quite decipher what it was. As she drifted off to sleep, she made a silent promise to keep visiting the woods, no matter the season. In the years that followed, Athena remained a constant presence in Lily's life, even if only in spirit. Though their encounters grew rarer, each one was a reminder of the extraordinary bond they shared, a bond that transcended the boundaries of species and time. And for Lily, the lessons she learned from Athena stayed with her forever, shaping the way she saw the world and her place within it. She carried those lessons into everything she did, from her art to her relationships, always striving to approach life with the same kindness and compassion that had brought her and Athena together. The owl's trust in Emily grew steadily over the coming days. Each visit from the little girl brought new surprises to the forest. Her gentle presence seemed to transform not only the owl but also the environment around them. Emily's enthusiasm to help her new feathered friend brought an energy that even the forest creatures seemed to notice. Birds chirped more brightly, squirrels scampered closer, and the gentle hum of nature seemed more alive whenever she was near. One day, Emily arrived at the clearing with a small basket in her hands. The basket contained soft padding and tiny bits of food she had researched might be suitable for owls. She had asked her parents endless questions about what owls ate and had even convinced them to buy a book about birds of prey from the local bookstore. In the basket were small, carefully prepared pieces of meat and a few shiny stones she had found, thinking they might amuse the owl. "I hope you like this," she whispered as she approached the owl's resting spot. The owl, which she had begun calling Luna because of the moon-like pattern on its feathers, tilted its head curiously. Emily placed the basket near Luna, careful not to startle her, and stepped back to observe. Luna cautiously pecked at the contents of the basket, her golden eyes gleaming with interest. She tried the food first, tearing at it with her beak before swallowing it down. Emily clapped her hands in silent delight, her heart swelling with pride. The little owl had come so far from the frightened creature she had found just days ago. But Emily's joy was short-lived. As Luna stretched her injured wing, Emily noticed something alarming. The wing didn't fold back properly, and there was a strange stiffness to its movement. Emily bit her lip in concern. She knew that despite Luna's progress, the injury might be more severe than she had initially thought. Determined to find a solution, Emily decided to talk to her parents. That evening at the dinner table, she brought up the topic carefully. "Mom, Dad, do you know if there's a place that helps injured animals? Like a hospital for birds?" Her parents exchanged a glance. "Why do you ask, sweetie?" her mom replied, her voice laced with curiosity. Emily hesitated. She knew she had to tread carefully. "Well, I read about how some birds get hurt and can't fly properly anymore. I just thought maybe there's someone who can help them get better." Her dad nodded thoughtfully. "There are wildlife rescue centers, but they're usually far from here. Are you thinking about the birds you see in the forest?" "Something like that," Emily murmured, avoiding eye contact. She didn't want to give away too much, afraid her parents might forbid her from visiting the forest if they knew about Luna. Her mom smiled. "That's a kind thought, Emily. Maybe we can look into it together." Emily nodded eagerly, feeling a spark of hope. If she could find a way to help Luna fully recover, she was willing to do whatever it took. The next morning, Emily set out for the forest earlier than usual, her heart racing with determination. She had brought along a small notebook and a pen to jot down observations about Luna's behavior and injury. She wanted to be ready with as much information as possible if she managed to find someone who could help. When she arrived, Luna was perched on a low branch, her posture slightly more relaxed than before. Emily sat down cross-legged a few feet away, carefully watching the owl. "We're going to figure this out," she whispered. "I promise." As she wrote in her notebook, Emily was startled by a rustling sound nearby. Her head snapped up, and she saw a fox cautiously stepping into the clearing. Its sharp eyes were fixed on Luna, and its movements were calculated. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She knew that foxes could be predators to small animals, and Luna, with her injured wing, wouldn't stand a chance if the fox attacked. Thinking quickly, Emily grabbed a small stick and waved it in the air. "Go away!" she shouted, her voice trembling but firm. The fox froze, startled by the sudden noise and movement. It hesitated for a moment before darting back into the bushes. Emily let out a shaky breath, her hands trembling. Luna fluffed her feathers, seemingly unbothered by the encounter. "You're so brave," Emily said with a weak smile, though her heart was still pounding. The incident made Emily realize how vulnerable Luna truly was. The forest, while beautiful, was also a place of constant danger for a bird that couldn't fly. Emily's resolve hardened. She had to find help, and soon. That evening, Emily couldn't keep her secret any longer. She sat her parents down and told them everything about Luna. The day she found her, the injured wing, the time she had spent caring for her in the forest. Her parents listened intently, their expressions shifting from surprise to concern and then to pride. "You've been very brave and compassionate," her dad said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "But you're right, this is bigger than what you can handle alone. We'll help you find someone who can take care of Luna properly." The next day, Emily and her parents made calls to several wildlife rescue organizations. Most of them were too far away, but one local group agreed to send someone to assess the situation. Emily felt a mix of relief and anxiety. She wanted Luna to get the best care possible, but the thought of saying goodbye to her feathered friend was almost unbearable. When the wildlife rescuer arrived, Emily led him to the clearing. Luna watched warily as the man approached, her instincts telling her to be cautious. Emily knelt beside Luna and whispered soothingly, "It's okay, Luna. He's here to help." The rescuer examined Luna carefully, his experienced hands gentle yet thorough. He explained that the injury was a fractured wing and that Luna would need weeks of rehabilitation to regain full mobility. He commended Emily for her efforts, saying that without her care, Luna might not have survived. As Luna was gently placed into a special carrier, Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes. She leaned close to the carrier and whispered, "Be strong, Luna. I'll come visit you, I promise." The rescuer smiled kindly. "You did something truly remarkable, young lady. Not many people would have gone to such lengths to help a wild animal." Emily nodded, her heart heavy but proud. As she watched the rescuer carry Luna away, she felt a sense of hope. Luna was in good hands, and she had done everything she could to give her a second chance at life. Days passed since Luna was taken to the Wildlife Rescue Center, and Emily felt an ache in her heart every time she thought about her feathered friend. The forest felt different without Luna. Emily still visited the clearing, sitting quietly on the soft grass and imagining Luna perched on her usual branch. She would bring her notebook, drawing sketches of owls and writing little notes about their habits. It was her way of staying connected to Luna, even though they were apart. At home, Emily's parents noticed her subdued mood and tried to cheer her up. Her mom suggested making a scrapbook of her time with Luna, and her dad proposed they visit the rescue center to check on the owl's progress. Both ideas brightened Emily's spirits. She poured her energy into the scrapbook, carefully pasting pictures of the forest and adding notes about her adventures with Luna. It became a beautiful collection of memories and a testament to the bond they had shared. Finally, the day came when Emily and her parents were invited to the rescue center. Emily couldn't contain her excitement as they drove through the winding roads leading to the facility. Her heart raced as they pulled into the parking lot and were greeted by the kind rescuer who had taken Luna. "Luna's been making remarkable progress," the rescuer said with a warm smile. "She's still in recovery, but she's stronger every day. Would you like to see her?" Emily nodded eagerly, clutching her scrapbook tightly. They were led to a large enclosure filled with greenery and perches designed to simulate a natural habitat. And there, perched on a low branch, was Luna. Her feathers looked fuller, her eyes bright and alert. Emily felt a lump in her throat as she saw the progress Luna had made. "Luna," she called softly, stepping closer to the enclosure. The owl turned her head, her golden eyes locking onto Emily. There was a flicker of recognition in her gaze, and she let out a soft hoot, as if acknowledging her little friend. Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as she pressed her hand against the enclosure's glass. "You're doing so well, Luna. I'm so proud of you." The rescuer explained that Luna was still undergoing physical therapy to strengthen her wing, but was on track to be released back into the wild. "She's a resilient one," he said, "and I think your care gave her the strength to fight." As they left the rescue center, Emily felt a mix of emotions. Joy at seeing Luna's progress, but sadness at the thought of their eventual goodbye. Her parents reassured her that what she had done for Luna was extraordinary. "You gave her a chance to live," her mom said, "and that's something she'll carry with her forever." Over the following weeks, Emily stayed in touch with the rescue center, receiving updates on Luna's recovery. She learned about the process of reintroducing rehabilitated animals to the wild and even attended a workshop on wildlife conservation. Emily's passion for helping animals grew, and she began dreaming of becoming a wildlife biologist someday. The day of Luna's release finally arrived. Emily and her parents were invited to witness the momentous occasion, and Emily couldn't have been more excited. They returned to the forest, this time with the rescue team. Luna's enclosure had been brought to the clearing where Emily had first found her, and the sight of the familiar surroundings seemed to calm the owl. Emily stood a few feet away, her heart pounding as the rescuer gently opened the enclosure. Luna hesitated for a moment, her golden eyes scanning the forest. Then, with a powerful flap of her wings, she took off into the air. Emily gasped as she watched Luna soar, her once injured wing now carrying her effortlessly through the sky. "She's flying," Emily exclaimed, her voice filled with awe and pride. Tears streamed down her face as she watched Luna disappear into the trees, a symbol of strength and resilience. The rescuer placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. "You did this," he said. "Because of you, she has a second chance at life." Emily nodded, her heart swelling with a sense of accomplishment. As they walked back to the car, Emily glanced back at the forest, silently thanking it for bringing Luna into her life. Life after Luna's release felt different for Emily. The forest no longer held the quiet anticipation of finding Luna perched in her usual spot. Yet, it was not a sadness that lingered. It was a deep sense of fulfillment. Emily knew that Luna was where she belonged, flying free among the trees and stars, living the life she was meant to live. Still, Emily couldn't help but visit the forest regularly. She continued her routine of exploring the trails, sitting in the clearing, and listening to the symphony of nature. The birds sang their cheerful melodies, and the rustling of leaves in the wind felt like whispers of reassurance. Emily carried her scrapbook with her on every visit, adding sketches of the forest and jotting down her observations. It became a precious treasure, a reminder of the bond she had shared with Luna. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves painted the ground in hues of gold and orange, Emily decided to visit the forest before school. She packed her notebook and a few snacks and headed out, the cool breeze invigorating her senses. The forest felt alive with the change of seasons, the earthy scent of fallen leaves mingling with the freshness of the morning air. Emily found herself drawn to the clearing where she and Luna had shared so many moments. She sat down on the grass, gazing up at the sky through the canopy of trees. The sun's rays filtered through the branches, casting a warm glow over the clearing. It was peaceful, but there was a yearning in her heart, a longing to see Luna one more time. As if answering her silent wish, a familiar sound broke the stillness. A soft hoot echoed through the trees, and Emily's heart leapt. She turned her head, her eyes scanning the branches above. And there, perched on a low limb, was Luna. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she took in the sight of her feathered friend. Luna looked strong and radiant, her golden eyes glowing with life. Emily felt a rush of emotion, tears welling up in her eyes. "Luna," she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. Luna tilted her head, letting out another soft hoot. It was as if she was saying hello, letting Emily know she hadn't forgotten her. Emily stood up slowly, not wanting to startle the owl. "You came back," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't believe it." The two friends shared a moment of quiet connection, the bond they had formed transcending words. Emily didn't move closer, respecting Luna's freedom, but her heart was full. She felt a deep sense of gratitude that Luna had chosen to visit her, even if just for a moment. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Luna spread her wings and took flight. Emily watched as she soared through the trees, her movements graceful and powerful. A sense of peace washed over Emily as she realized that this wasn't an ending. It was a new chapter. Luna was free, but their bond would always remain. Inspired by Luna's visit, Emily threw herself into her studies and her passion for wildlife conservation. She began volunteering at the rescue center, helping to care for injured animals and educating others about the importance of protecting wildlife. Her parents were incredibly proud of her, supporting her dreams every step of the way. Over time, Emily's efforts began to make a real impact. She organized fundraisers for the rescue center, started a community garden to create habitats for local birds, and even gave presentations at her school about her experiences. Her story with Luna became a powerful example of the difference one person could make. Years later, Emily stood in front of a packed auditorium, sharing her journey with an audience of aspiring conservationists. She spoke about the day she found Luna, the challenges they faced, and the lessons she learned. "Luna taught me that every life is worth fighting for," Emily said, her voice filled with conviction. "No matter how small or injured, every creature deserves a chance to thrive." As the audience erupted into applause, Emily felt a surge of pride. She had come a long way from the little girl who had stumbled upon an injured owl in the forest. Luna's story had inspired her to pursue her dreams and make a difference in the world. After the event, Emily returned to the forest, her heart drawn to the place where it all began. She sat in the clearing, the scrapbook of her journey resting on her lap. The forest felt alive with memories, and Emily felt a sense of belonging. She knew that Luna's spirit would always be with her, guiding her as she continued to fight for the creatures of the wild. As Emily sat in the clearing, the forest enveloped her with its comforting embrace. The sunlight filtering through the trees seemed to dance with the wind, and the faint rustle of leaves carried whispers of old and new memories alike. She opened her scrapbook, the pages filled with sketches, pressed leaves, and stories of her journey with Luna and other animals she had encountered over the years. The forest had become more than a refuge for Emily. It was her teacher, her inspiration, and her sanctuary. Each visit strengthened her resolve to protect the creatures that called it home. As she turned the pages of her scrapbook, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the experiences that had shaped her life. Her thoughts drifted back to Luna's visit on that autumn morning years ago. That brief but meaningful encounter had solidified something within Emily. The understanding that bonds formed in love and trust could never be broken, even by distance or time. Luna's strength had inspired Emily to push through her own challenges, reminding her that resilience was a universal trait shared by all living beings. In the years since Luna's release, Emily had grown into a passionate advocate for wildlife conservation. She had completed her studies in environmental science, working tirelessly to implement programs that protected endangered species and restored habitats. Her work had taken her to forests, wetlands, and savannas around the world. But no matter where she went, her heart always led her back to the forest that had shaped her childhood. On this particular visit, Emily noticed something unusual. A faint, distant hoot carried on the breeze. Her pulse quickened as she stood, her eyes scanning the treetops. Could it be Luna? Or perhaps one of Luna's offspring? She had often wondered if Luna had started a family in the years since her release. Following the sound, Emily ventured deeper into the forest, her steps careful and deliberate. She paused near an old oak tree, her gaze drawn upward. There, perched high on a branch, was a magnificent owl with striking golden eyes. Emily's breath caught in her throat. It couldn't be Luna. This owl was younger, its feathers sleek and vibrant, but the resemblance was uncanny. The owl regarded Emily with a calm, curious gaze, and in that moment, she felt an unspoken connection. A sense of continuity washed over her, as if the bond she had shared with Luna had transcended generations. She smiled, her heart swelling with a mixture of joy and nostalgia. "Hello there," she whispered. "You remind me of an old friend." As if in response, the owl spread its wings and took flight, gliding gracefully through the trees. Emily watched it disappear into the canopy, her spirit buoyed by the encounter. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that her work was far from over. The forest had given her so much, and she was determined to give back. Returning to the clearing, Emily closed her scrapbook and sat quietly, soaking in the serenity of the moment. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the forest. She felt at peace, knowing that Luna's legacy lived on, not just in the forest, but in the lives of those she had touched through her work. In the years that followed, Emily's efforts continued to grow. She founded an organization dedicated to wildlife rehabilitation and conservation, mentoring young people who shared her passion for protecting the natural world. Her story with Luna became a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring countless individuals to take action and make a difference. And though Emily's life was filled with achievements and milestones, she always found time to return to the forest. It remained her sanctuary, a place where she could reconnect with nature and remember the journey that had started it all. One crisp spring morning, Emily returned to the clearing with her young daughter, Lily, in tow. The little girl's wide eyes sparkled with wonder as she explored the forest, her curiosity mirroring Emily's own as a child. Emily watched with a smile as Lily crouched to examine a cluster of wildflowers, her tiny fingers brushing against the petals. "Mommy, look!" Lily exclaimed, holding up a feather she had found. It was soft and speckled, a sign that an owl had passed through recently. Emily knelt beside her daughter, her heart swelling with pride and love. "Do you know what that is?" Emily asked, her voice gentle. Lily nodded enthusiastically. "It's an owl feather, just like the ones in your scrapbook." Emily laughed softly, marveling at how much her daughter already knew about the forest and its inhabitants. "That's right," she said, tucking the feather into Lily's pocket. "Maybe one day you'll meet an owl too." As they continued their walk, Emily felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The legacy of her bond with Luna had come full circle, shaping not only her own life but the lives of those around her. She knew that the forest would continue to inspire and nurture generations to come, just as it had done for her. The sun climbed higher in the sky, bathing the forest in a warm, golden light. And as Emily and Lily walked hand in hand through the trees, the forest whispered its timeless promise that every bond, every act of kindness, and every moment of connection would ripple outward, touching lives in ways that could never be measured. The forest, after all, was a place of beginnings, and Emily's story was far from over.